like the Wi-Fi thing. I can't get this to work. Display.
Everybody said you do it the old-fashioned way? Why not? Got your voter. I don't know where the vote. I assume this is mine, this is you. Up here, Jerry.
That is a show of hands.
I think we're going to just vote by voice vote. Well, the meeting will come to order. A little bit delayed. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with our new voting system tonight, but we'll do it the way we've done it for the last 50 years. So we'll get through the old-fashioned way tonight. But tonight we'll have first a public hearing on the adoption of the revised 2011 Tullahoma Comprehensive Plan. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on the 2011 comp plan? Please introduce yourself and say your address.
Yes, my name is Chuck Dean. I live at 419 Albemarle Drive. I'm a member of the Community Plan Development Committee. Several other members are here this evening, and some are not. Those include Ron Darden, Elizabeth Bowling, Jamie Moorhead, Nancy Cheney, and Greg Gressel. The CPDC presented the revised 2011 Tullahoma Comprehensive Plan to the Planning Commission this past Wednesday, April 19th, for review. The revisions the CPDC submitted were meant to act as a bridge to a finalized long-term plan, which is projected to be completed no later than 2025. This revised plan is functional in nature and is meant to assist the City of Tullahoma with items or issues which may arise in the near term, including, but not limited to, economic development, housing, transportation, and a variety of land issues. In particular, one of the modifications undertaken will be most helpful to the City Planning Director, Mary Samaniego. It is the reconciling of the current land use map with the 2011 Comprehensive Plan to find a solution to immediate planning and zoning problems, such as residences currently located in industrial zones. The CPDC also reviewed all public comments. Many of these comments we found will be best considered as we progress through the long-term plan. The CPDC worked through our recommended revisions of the 2011 plan in association with input from Ms. Samaniego and the liaison from this board, Kurt Blake. The CPDC worked a considerable amount of time with due diligence to determine appropriate changes to the original 2011 plan. There was consensus of the voting members of the CPDC on the items modified. I would ask that you bear this in mind as you consider the revised plan as proposed by the CPDC and the changes made by the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak on the 2011 comp plan? Call the Board of Mayor and Aldermen April 24th, 2023 to order, and we'll ask our Reverend Will Young if he would please come and lead us in an invocation, and following that, the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand? Reverend Young.
Please join with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning in obedience to your word where you instruct us. We are exhorted to offer supplications, prayers, and intercessions, giving thanks for all men, for kings, and for all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in godliness and reverence. Heavenly Father, we ask for those who are in authority here in the city of Tullahoma, for our mayor and aldermen, that you would grant to them wisdom, that you would grant to them humility, knowing that all power and authority comes from you and ultimately lies with you and you alone. Father, we ask that you would give us wisdom and grace to lead with righteousness and obedience to your word. Heavenly Father, we ask that you would bless these proceedings that occur this evening, bless the decisions that are to be made. We ask your blessing on our mayor and each of the aldermen's families. Father, we also ask for the leadership of our country, our president, vice president, Senate and Congress, as well as our state leadership as well. Father, we know that godly leaders are a blessing that are from your hand. And we ask that you would continue to bless our country and the leaders who are over it. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Young. This evening we have no commendations or certificates to present, but I do have a proclamation that I would like to read. This is for Drinking Water Week 2023. This is from May the 7th through the 13th. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in the daily life, serving an essential purpose to healthy hydration and hygiene needs for the quality of our lives so that citizens to freely enjoy. And whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life that we enjoy. And whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and the quality of drinking water, a member of our pipe crew maintaining the infrastructure that communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to the consumer's taps. And whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shown light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend, and whereas all citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with their daily water by familiarization themselves with it. So now, therefore, be it resolved by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Tullahoma, I proclaim May the 7th through the 13th, 2023 as Drinking Water Week. We'll present this to the TUA board tomorrow night. Thank you. So at this time, do we have any comments from citizens that would like to address anything that's under the purview of the board? Please come to the podium. State your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Fran Gray. I'm proud to be the regional coordinator for the South Central region of Alzheimer's Tennessee. In just 2 short weeks, less than 2 weeks now, we have our annual Purple Olympics. I hope you all saw the notice about that, and I hope that you're planning to come and ride tricycles and do the hula hoop and play some mind games with us, and we would really love to have you. It's a free event. May 6th, THS Gym. We'll start with registrations at 8:30. If you want to register ahead, you can go to our website and find it and register. We will have an opening ceremony of Olympic style at 9 o'clock. We're so proud to have members of the high school band playing music. And then we will have a special presentation. And at 9:30, I will say, let the games begin. And they do begin, and they're a lot of fun. We'll have our prize and cake walk about 10:30, lots of great cakes and prizes, and then at noon, we should wrap it up. So y'all just get in shape and come on over. It is fun, and it helps us raise awareness of the over 800 families in Coffee County alone who are affected by some form of dementia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray, for all you do for the great work you do for Alzheimer's. Anyone else? Any other citizen comments?
Mr. Mayor and fellow aldermen, again, I want to...
State your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jim Woodard, 2011 North Jackson Street. I want to compliment Fran. Fran Gray does a lot of great jobs with that Alzheimer's. And Mayor, I'll sponsor you on a tricycle race if you want to get involved and make some challenges. Just letting you know, I would do that. I'm coming before the board again tonight, again, just appealing, hopefully, to some calmer times and better times. I would like to encourage us to reinstate Ms. Costa Bryce. And she has been on administrative leave with pay now for many weeks. Based upon still the meetings I have attended, she's still at home collecting a paycheck without working. That seems to be a big waste of taxpayer dollars. I know there's been quite a bit of controversy about some of the Shred-A-Gates and some of the lawsuits that are going on with the city of Tullahoma, and there may be some indication or appearance that she's being punished for some of that. Well, I'm only representing me tonight, but I can tell you that I also stand here with hundreds of people in agreement with me that it is a waste of our taxpayer dollars that she is not at work. We also know that the city is needing and takes applications for jobs, and there's openings in our city, and it's putting a lot of stress on the city as well as other members of our administration. So I know that at the last board meeting, the city attorney got up, was making an offer, still trying to work with a settlement to try to bring someone up to do the investigative work, but it does appear that Ms. Bryce has been picked out and is being harassed. I will say I thought it was kind of interesting. She attended a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and for a woman who's on administrative leave, she was nominated and won the Richard L. Stokes Personal Achievement Award as a distinguished HR career category. So we got rid of our great city administrator for whatever reason, not good enough for Tullahoma, but good enough for Nashville. And now we've also put our HR department chair in timeout, who's won a distinguished award. And being a citizen and somebody that's been paying attention to Ms. Bryce's work for the last 20 plus years, I think it's 20 plus, been stellar employee and stellar employment and done great jobs for the city. I would encourage you, Mayor, to encourage your board members to please reinstate Ms. Costa Bryce. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from citizens? Now we'll close the citizens' comments and move right along into the approval of the agenda tonight. The agenda's been published and presented, and I'd like a motion to approve the agenda. Got a motion from Mayor Pro Tem to approve the agenda, and a second from Alderman Berry.
Mayor, I have an amendment I'd like to make to the agenda.
Motion to amend. Alderman Glick.
I would like to remove item number 2373, that is the consideration of the sale of the real property on 411 East Carroll Street, and place it on the agenda 2 weeks from now. The reason for this is both of the applicants or interested parties in purchasing this building were notified very late that they were to make a presentation to the board, and I don't think they had enough time to prepare. I know one of the parties contacted me, and they weren't notified until Friday that they would need to make a presentation, and the other one didn't know till yesterday. So I think it would behoove us to be, in all fairness to both parties, to let them have more time to prepare and do this 2 weeks from now. It's not a real time-sensitive matter, and I think it would be in the best interest of everybody.
We'll
I second that.
motion to amend, to postpone. We have a motion to postpone. And I'd like a second on the motion to postpone. Alderman Wilson. Any discussion? Now we'll have a roll call vote. We'll just go around. Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Glee.
Aye.
Alderman Mathis.
Here.
I vote aye.
Aye.
And you vote?
Aye.
It's a 7-0 to postpone.
Either aye, here is present. I am present. Aye is yes.
Did you vote yes? Okay.
And that is postponed by a vote of 7-0. So that is the modification of the agenda.
Thank you.
It's
The rest of the agenda will be,
6 of us.
beg your pardon?
There's 6 of us.
6-0.
Excuse me. Excuse me, 6-0. Unanimous of those present. Okay. With the approval of the agenda, with that modification, we'll move right into the reports from the Alderman. And I'll start with you, Alderman Wilson.
Mayor, we need to vote to approve the agenda.
That was just on the amendment.
Oh, it's on the amendment, okay. We'll vote now to approve the agenda. Alderman Berry.
Aye.
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 And that passes 6-0. Okay, now we'll go to reports from the Alderman. And I'll start with you, Alderman Wilson.
Hi, good evening. I would like to announce that this Friday, April 28th, is National Arbor Day. And I invite everyone to come out on that day, this Friday, at 11:30 a.m., where there will be an Arbor Day celebration. So everyone, please come out and see our new, brand new pavilion that they will have hopefully ready on Friday. And if anyone's not aware, East Park, that's located adjacent to our East Middle School, it also has it's where the disc golf course is where you will find our Arboretum there. And if you've never gotten a chance to visit, it is truly a nice, relaxing place to go to learn about trees that have historical significance. With a paved walking trail, it has an outdoor fitness equipment area and connects the park to Russell Nelm's bike trail along the Country Club Drive. It is our East Park Arboretum is a certified level 2 arboretum, is also located at that park and displays over 60 varieties of trees, both native and non-native to Tennessee. I also would like to report at South Jackson Performing Arts Center. There will be auditions for a Midsummer Night's Dream Saturday and Sunday, April 29th and 30th at 3 p.m. at the Annex at South Jackson Performing Arts Center. The play itself is scheduled for June 22nd through the 24th. They also, I'm real excited about Spring Friday concert series is coming up. The first one is going to be May 5th. With the band Yesterday's Wine will be featured on that evening, and it starts at 7 p.m. And they will have music, food, and a bar there. The Tullahoma Fine Arts Center on Saturday, May 6th, they are holding at 10:30 a.m. A Make a Necklace class. Join instructor Lori in a jewelry making class. Students will learn to create a necklace from an upcycled brooch. It'd be perfect for making a Mother's Day gift, possibly. And also to remind everyone, May 6th through 27th, they will have an art exhibit from D. Foster called Solo, with a reception for that starting on Friday, May 5th from 5 to 7. That's all.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, I attended the special called Planning Commission meeting on Wednesday, where the revised 2011 comprehensive plan was discussed. I've also been speaking and meeting with several of our nonprofits about their budget requests and look forward to continuing that this week. I also did a walk around the downtown with Mr. Worsham and Mr. Ralph Graham, looking at some of the planners down there and talking about what we could do to improve them. We'll also be discussing that a little later in this meeting. And finally, I'd like to wish Alderman Kirk Glick a happy birthday. Today is his birthday, and he gets to spend it with all of us. So I think he's turning 30, what?
31 again.
31 again.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Kirk, and that's all I have.
Well, thank you for reminding us of that.
I think every alderman must have their birthday on a Monday.
Alderman Berry.
Mayor, with my little note card at home. Since we last met, though, I attended the Planning Commission meeting. Then the next Monday, we had a special called Planning Commission meeting, had the Board of Education meeting and attended that. And I love this time of year. It's been a little cold, but the weather's been perfect. So I've been trying to catch as many Little League baseball games as I can, and spent Saturday out at the soccer fields to go watch them, and watching, I think, the youth sports. Sometimes I think for all of us, maybe sometimes it feels like, what are we doing up here? For me, at least, what are we doing? And going out there and watching the community, and especially these little kids out there enjoying, no cares, no worries, making use of it reminds me why we're here and who we do it for. I did some other stuff, but I'll pass it on to the birthday boy.
Well, I too did a walk around at the downtown with Mr. Worsham and Mr. Graham, and we had some very fruitful discussions on what possibilities we could have with the downtown planning. So I think we have a good plan to move forward. It's kind of still in its infancy and a lot of work yet to do, but I feel really good about the fact that we are going to get somewhere this time and maybe not just rehash the same mistakes that have been made in the past. I've been involved with the downtown planter beds for almost 40 years now, and I know the things that have gone good and bad and mostly ugly. So we're hopefully going to get to a point to where we could have a great finished product, something that will be easily maintained and it will have some longevity. Other than that, I also continued my work with the CPDC and attended the Planning Commission meeting, the special call Planning Commission meeting for the presentation of the revised 2011 plan, and look forward to that item on the agenda tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Mathis.
No report tonight, sir.
Understand.
I understand.
Well, for me, we attended the airport board meeting and the two planning commission meetings that we've had since then, one special call. We also had the mayor's planning coordinating committee meeting, which was very well attended. So it's been a fairly busy couple of weeks. So with that, pass along to the city attorney for his report.
First of all, I'd like to extend to Alderman Mann and his family condolences for the loss of his lovely wife who passed away last week. I'm sure we all were there and were part of that celebration of life for her. Secondly, I'd like to thank Alderman Mann and Glick for resurrecting the downtown project with me and Ralph Graham. I've seen trees planted and grow and die here in my town, and I hope that the ones we plant next time outlive me. But I appreciate all that effort, and it's on the agenda for later on tonight to consider moving forward with that. We've been moving forward with serving all the people with the summons to report the delinquent property taxes that we're attempting to collect now. I hope we're having some success with that. I'll ask Ms. Ashley if the money's coming in for the delinquent taxes as it should be. We're working with the owners of some property along William Northern Boulevard for an exchange of city property and their property in order to accommodate the straightening out of William Northern Boulevard as it approached Cedar Lane, and also the accommodation of a large hotel project that's being contemplated in that area. And we're doing research relative to some open meetings law provisions and things of that nature in order that we can have some meetings and discussions in private, and I'm going to do some research about that as well. So if you have any questions about anything, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Worthing.
Okay, thank you.
Our city attorney interim, Mr. Pearson.
It's been a busy couple weeks. We've been working on our budgets. Also scheduled 3 meetings that will be budget meetings on May 2nd, May 3rd, and May 4th. We'll start at 4 o'clock. They are open to the public. Also, we're going to have them televised as well so that everybody can see them. With those budget meetings, I attended the TCMA conference, April 12th through 14th. A lot of good information there. They did talk a lot about that tax bill that they're working on trying to get pushed through so that we'll get a little bit more of our local sales tax back to us instead of them keeping probably 1.5% of it. They're trying to get it down to like 0.5% they keep, which will be really good and will add a little bit more money to our budgets. I did initiate I didn't initiate, but our IT manager put together an email set up for the BOMA and for the department heads. I'm having a meeting with Civic HR on Friday, or we're having a phone call on Friday with Civic HR. We have a new representative. Some of the people that were administrators have already left the city, so just trying to make sure that we get all this correctly, and it's going to hopefully be able to push things to the right people. All the board of mayor and aldermen will get each email, but hopefully with some triggers, it'll send it to the right department, and we'll get people on top of those situations when we need to. I also approved an emergency purchase for a garbage truck to replace the garbage truck that damaged in the fire. Butch Taylor and his staff contacted vendors for availability. It's going to be 8 to 14 months before they could get one. They had none that were out there. A couple of phone calls. They talked to Stringfellow in Nashville. They had called to Gatlinburg. Gatlinburg had 2 that were already on the line being produced. So in an effort to replace the one that we had and take the strain off the one that we had that was in backup, I did initiate an emergency purchase. Now, no money has passed hands. We've just said we'll take that truck when it comes off the line. That could be as quickly as the next 3 months. The insurance paid $251,850 towards the purchase of the new truck. The truck itself was $397,000. So the $146,983.94 is coming out of his equipment replacement funds that he had available to use. Now, that does mean that he can't buy some other equipment that he needed, but at the present time, it felt like it was more important for him to have that truck coming instead of the other equipment. Other than that, that's all I had the last couple of weeks. I think I talked to Kurt about those planners earlier. Probably, I don't know if it's been 3 weeks now, but we had a small discussion about those planners, and I appreciate y'all being able to go down there and starting that process so we can move forward. I've also been working on the bathroom project at the soccer fields. I got all the quotes from St. John on the prefab, but we're also got RFQs ready to send out to have somebody build one, to get a quote on building a custom one. So we're working in that process, and hopefully that will be moving forward in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Garbage trucks are expensive, aren't they?
Yes.
But hard to do without. Okay, moving into the...
Mayor.
Yes.
I forgot, I did do something last week. I got to go up to Nashville and watched one of their last sessions on Thursday, and then had some conversations with our rep about the SRO monies that will be coming, which is really big news, and will be in place by the beginning of next school year, so that would be a major plus for us, as well as some information on the TISA funding at the school and getting our sales tax money back. But I forgot all about it. Spent the day up there. I forgot all about it. I got lost and sunburned.
Thank you. Thank you for your modified report. Let's move into the agenda tonight for the consent agenda. The consent agenda has already been approved. I'll simply read the caption for the consent agenda. That's simply that there are minutes from a previous board meeting from April the 10th. Moving into, there is no unfinished business, so we'll move into the new business for tonight.
Need to approve this, to approve the vote.
To approve it. Need a motion? Motion from Barry, second by Mathis. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Consent agenda is approved. Moving into the new business for tonight, there's the ordinance 1593 is an ordinance to adopt the revised 2011 Tullahoma Comprehensive Plan. That plan, this is for the first of two readings. That plan starts on page 32 in your packet and goes through page 218. So it's fairly comprehensive. So I hope you've had an opportunity to review that. But first, I need a motion.
All motion. It came from our committee that we appointed, so.
Motion to approve the 2011 comp plan. Need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Alderman Click. Any discussion on the plan?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment because I think we're unclear here if this is the plan that we're given to vote on here. Is this the plan as presented by the CPDC, or is this the plan that was amended by the Planning Commission?
Planning Commission, CPDC can't present plans.
As our item that we passed said that we could take some, none, or all of the recommendations of the Planning Commission, I make a motion to amend this plan to take to adopt the plan as presented by the CPDC without adopting the changes of the Planning Commission.
I second it.
I want to amend the motion to approve the plan as presented tonight by the Planning Commission, not to accept any changes made by the Planning Commission, and accept the original plan as presented by the CPDC.
Question. Do we have that plan available?
I believe they presented it to all of us.
Mary, both plans are in that package,
Yeah,
right?
they're in
The first plan is the one as the committee put together. The second one is the one could I have Mary speak for just a moment? She's the one that presented it. Come on up, Mary.
Good evening, Mary Samaniego, the Planning Director. So this is how I submitted it in your packet. My staff report starts on page 32, and then the draft plan that was originally drafted by the Community Plan Development Committee starts on page 38. Then, after that draft was released, the public took a month to comment, and all those public comments began on page 110. Then the Community Plan Development Committee met after all of the public comments came in and made 2 further revisions. Those are on pages 139 and 1 through 141. And then lastly, the version of the plan that the Planning Commission adopted Monday is on page 142. So per the board's instructions, you have before you all public comment, the version of the plan from the Community Plan Development Committee, as well as the version of the plan from the Planning Commission.
May I ask a question?
Of course, sir.
Are the comments from the citizens incorporated in which plan includes the comments from citizens?
The addendum, starting on page 138, the revised comments from the Community Plan Development Committee includes some of the comments from the public. The remaining comments that were not included in this revised 2011 plan, and the committee can certainly speak for themselves, were determined to be more relevant to the long-range 20-year plan that we should be wrapping up in 2025.
Yes, the goal here was, and the committee worked for several months pretty diligently and deliberated a lot on the 2011 plan to make the amendments, worked with Ms. Samiego, and they came up with a plan that would make it easier for her to do her job going forward and make sure it corrected any disagreements between the maps and the plan. And it was meant as a bridge to get us to the time when we adopted a long-range plan. So any of the things that somebody thought they may have left out were the things that would affect a long-range plan, not just an interim plan that was getting us to move forward. The committee, along with Ms. Samiego, were in agreement on what they proposed. And I feel it was a good plan. It was one long debated over. And this was by a committee that was appointed by all the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. So it was a diverse group of people appointed by all of us. So I think they came up with a good product. So that is the plan, the final plan that they presented to the Planning Commission that incorporated the citizens' comments is the one that I would propose that we pass tonight.
Can you, briefly describe what's the difference between the two? I sat through the Planning Commission special call meeting last Wednesday night and thought that you were incorporating all the comments that had come from citizens into the plan that was being presented that were approved by the Planning Commission. And so my concern is the Planning Commission has approved this plan, but only this Planning Commission has not approved the plan that was submitted to by the CDPC. Is that correct?
Correct. The comprehensive plan, so this comprehensive plan amendment was initiated by the legislative body, which is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Per state statute, because it was initiated by the legislative body, it has to go to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission can approve, deny, or amend that plan, again, that came through the Community Plan Development Committee. And then ultimately, it's up to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen as a legislative body to approve, deny, or amend that recommendation from the Planning Commission.
So what's coming to us is not, what's come to us is the plan from the Planning Commission that included some of the comments from the citizens.
Yes, that's one version of the plan that's in your packet. Then you have another version of the plan that is solely the recommendations from the committee.
I do not see how we can possibly vote on this until we have more information. We're doing this in the blind side and not understanding what's going on. I don't know the difference between the two plans. I don't know where it came from, don't have any idea. So until this is done, I think we need to put this off.
Can I say something, ask something? May I ask a question?
Alderman Wilson?
Mayor, you worked along with the CPDC the entire time, like you worked together with them, correct?
Yes.
And so that plan is in here in our packet, which Mary helped devise. And it was the Planning Commission had made, when the Planning Commission made some kind of changes to it, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So that's what, and then, so what would be voting on would be either to pass it as the Planning Commission has stated it, or we could amend it, or just reject it. That's what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. The original motion that was made by this board outlined the procedure, and it was that would form this committee that would bring a draft plan. They would take that draft plan to the Planning Commission, which we did, which they could edit it and amend it. So that version's in your packet as well. And then further, the board ultimately can approve some, all, or none of the recommendations from the committee and the Planning Commission. That's why I had to present you with all the information.
And Kurt, what you're talking about is that we would vote to amend it as the CPDC, along with Mary helped.
Along with the final version of the CPDC that incorporated the citizens' comments.
Yes.
That version, as presented by the CPDC, the final version, without the Planning Commission's changes.
Right. So the plan that y'all worked, the CPD worked very hard on, along with Mary, is what you propose that we would vote as the amended.
That's my motion, yeah.
Plan, yes.
Alderman Berry?
I would ask for, I guess, transparency, that Alderman Glick specify what exactly those changes that the Planning Commission made were and what the objections to those are, versus just kind of a blanket, because nobody out there knows and nobody up here knows why. So I think rather than just saying, let's not listen to the Planning Commission, who is the appointed body, let's go through those changes and say why it's not a good change. Because there's some in here, I'll let you go first, but there's some in here that were conflicts that we'll go through. I'll let you go first, though.
Okay, I'm not going to sit here and go through the whole plan. I think that's what we spent months.
There's only six. There's 6 changes. So if we just go through those 6 changes.
I'm willing to do that. You go first.
Well, you objected to them, so I would ask that you specify which changes you want to reject.
Well, I'll go back to what I said. We'll just leave them all off.
Because we don't know. We're just
No, we do know.
Let's go through them. There's 6 of them. So I would ask, let's just start and let's have a debate over it.
Well, I'm not sure where they're highlighted in here, Mary.
Well, I know of one off the top of my head, just from memory of what I read in the packet that we all have, is just, it was about having higher density housing on main roads versus kind of auxiliary roads. This
Yeah,
is my memory, but I mean.
Those were the main things, and I think there was a couple of the items were on that, and that's the major conflict there. It was whether the high density would be on a arterial road or a collector, and the CPDC said arterial, and the Planning Commission said that they could be on a collector road. So
That's incorrect. Right. The CPDC said only urban, which is Jackson Street, 41, Highway 55, which is split Carroll Street and then Wilson Avenue. That's what the CPDC said. So the only places that you can have a townhome or an apartment in the city of Tullahoma on something that's not already zoned high density, right?
Correct.
Is on Jackson Street and Highway 55 through Carroll Street and then cut over to Wilson Avenue. Can anybody up here, since we're doing our homework, can anybody up here tell me how many available vacant lots there are on Jackson Street right now? You're a realtor. You should know. We should all know this if we're voting on it. How many vacant lots are available on Jackson Street right now?
You're on the Planning Commission.
Three, and they're in the north end of the town, and they're commercial. There's one spot where you can do a high density currently, if we've got our maps in front of us. Look at the land use map. They're all zoned. I just lost mine. I had my page number written down.
109.
Let's not move on.
I said 109.
Oh, 109. Sorry, I apologize. I thought you said let's move on. I apologize.
No, I didn't say that.
I do apologize. So if we look at that, I wish we could put it on TV. So Jackson Street, so there's one spot up here, and that's a farm. It's like 100 and something acres, right? It's not for sale. You've got some properties over here that are vacant. I think there's 3 right there on the left side of town as you go out just past Lowe's. Those are zoned commercial. They're right in the middle of all commercial. Would it be spot zoning to put a residential R3 right in the middle of all that red? It'd be tough.
Let's not use the term spot zoning, but yes, if it's a commercial land use category and it's surrounded by commercial uses, putting a, based on the reading of your current zoning ordinance, putting a residential project would be inconsistent.
Okay. So we come all the way down, and then you got to go all the way. There's a little bit of industrial right there. There's a tiny little bit of residential in the middle, but these lots are all already have something on them, right? So then you got to come all the way down near Sims, where Sims is at, and that's your only little spot that's residential multifamily. So in between there's nothing. So what I would, and this is going to lead into another. One was the high density. The other was community commercial, okay? Can only happen on Jackson Street, 41A, because it's those urban roads, Carroll Street, 55, and Wilson Avenue. Well, you can't do that on Wilson Avenue except after you cross where that gas station is, because of the rest of that is all residential, right? You can't just, well, there's 2 little tiny, if you're looking at your map, they're tiny little red that you can do. So you've counted out community commercial, which is, I'm going to say Dollar Generals, because there was one that was put in over on the east side of town, which is an incredible asset because we all probably have vehicles. But people in a lower income area, they don't all have vehicles, so they need to be able to walk to the places that they're at. But it also limits commercial. If I wanted to open up an office, or you or anybody else, something commercial, it couldn't be over here in this. You know, it's really limited to that property there. The other piece was mixed use. So mixed use, for those that don't know, is where I can do, stop me when I'm wrong, I can do a residential and commercial kind of mixed area intertwined, maybe apartments with a coffee shop, or is that?
Correct, within one project.
So we've limited that. The change that we made here also was we limited that, or not we made, the CPDC that they made, is you can only do that on Jackson Street, 41A, and Carroll Street in Wilson Avenue. So you can't, I mean, it'd probably be tough to do in the residential. So what we are effectively doing is we're saying no apartments, townhomes, commercial, very, very limited where you can put that in the city of Tullahoma now. And mixed use is pretty much no. One of the business at AEDC will speak tonight, but there have been talked about plans to turn the Cedar Lane area into kind of a commercial. Let's attract corporate offices. They're going to bring in high-paying jobs, and a way to do that is allowing some of these mixed-use areas. Corporations want their people to be able to live, work, and eat in kind of the same place. This doesn't allow that. So that was one of the changes that the Planning Commission had made. And so effectively, too, what we're doing is we're saying there's a very limited, you got 3 lots for sale. The majority of the property, there's only like 20 properties down Jackson Street that are even vacant and don't have something on it. Some of those have tiny little structures. So we've increased, the value, once this passes, the value of the property on Jackson Street has just substantially increased. Law of economics, supply and demand, right? So we've upped that. Do we have, and I hate saying, one of our members on the CPDC owns property on Jackson Street. Is that disclosed in here anywhere? No. So we're able to potentially profit from that. Another change that we made is in Appendix C. It references a page in the 2040 plan. We crossed that out. Is that objectionable? Is that something that we don't want to include, a page reference to the 2040 plan? Some of these other changes where it talks about the mobile home one, I forget what that was. It was a discrepancy between the two. We made some changes to some other small qualifiers. So, it just, nobody knew what those were because the plan tonight wasn't to even consider what the Planning Commission did. It was a waste of the Planning Commission's time to meet and go over that because it was planned from the beginning that we're just going to accept what was said by the CPDC. And when asked to go through these 6 things, we couldn't do that.
Can I say
Alderman
something?
Wilson, you're recognized.
We're elected by the citizens. We each got to place someone on the CPDC and work in conjunction with our city director. And I'd also like to make a note that this is supposed to bridge over to the plan that's coming up. This is a bridge. And I don't think that we should be passing plans based on what lots are for sale right now. I think that seems not how we should be structuring things. Why would we be structuring a plan right now based on what lots are for sale right now?
Alderman Glegg.
I just reiterate that this is a plan, an interim plan. It is a bridge to take us to the long-range plan that was previously called the 2040 plan. The CPDC will continue to work on that. They'll be incorporating citizens' comments that they received about the 2011 plan and getting comments all the time from citizens on this. This committee worked diligently to go through the plan and make changes and propose a plan. They worked with Mary to get something that would help her go forward for the next couple of years and do her job, making sure that there was no conflicts in the map. The things that they proposed were long debated by them, by this diverse group of people appointed by all of us to do this task. And what they proposed a good document. I did not plan on going through all the changes tonight. I sat in the CPDC for a couple of months through meetings going through it. And then we also watched the Planning Commission go page by page for the document. I didn't think it was a good use of this board's time or anyone's time for a third body to go page by page for the same document. I trust the citizens we appointed to the CDBC, and I value their presentation of the document that they did.
I'd ask Ms. Sambiego one other question. Is there anything, I'll give you my understanding of what's in the document presented by the Planning Commission to us tonight. The Planning Commission took into account the citizens' comments. The Citizens Committee, those comments were incorporated in the documents that you went through on the plan, on a special call meeting night. So it seems to me that that document is the document that includes all the citizens' input as well as the input from the Planning Commission.
No, it's the CPDC document also included citizens' comments.
Mayor, is that question directed at me?
Yes, please.
Yes. The Planning Commission did not incorporate all of the public comments that came in. There were still many public comments that came in that were not addressed by either the Community Plan Development Committee or the Planning Commission. Both bodies thought that some of the points that the public made were valid, but they would be more useful in the next long-range plan for the 20-year plan, not necessarily this bridge plan, as we're calling it, or the revised 2011 plan, because they were really large substantive policy changes that the city will be tackling in the next plan.
And that's the point, Mayor, that this is a bridge plan. It's 2023 now. The long-range revised plan will be done in 2025. We're talking about less than 2 years. So these major changes were unnecessary in there. This was to get us through until that time. I'd like to see if there is anybody, and you don't feel compelled that you have to get up and speak, from the CPDC that would like to say anything tonight. This is your chance.
Thank you, Barry.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Bowling. I'm on the committee. We've had lots of meetings, and we've had lots of advertising of the time and the place of our meetings. And we've had Mary, we've also had Mr. Rich at the meetings. We've had individuals give input also as we looked at some of the issues that we thought that we needed expertise from other folks to come and speak to us. We had no members of the Planning Commission ever come to any of the committee meetings. We had one meeting I can think of where there was a citizen. But what we did is we looked at and worked with Mary, and I think that it's too bad that more members of the public weren't at our committee meetings, because we all have different ideas. We all had different thoughts on different portions of the plan, and we were able to work through and come to consensus. And when someone, I believe Mary said someone said the committee was, there was a consensus among the committee for the bridge plan. And it wasn't a consensus, it was a unanimous, everyone agreed with the plan that was being submitted. And it was each representative from each of you that agreed and was happy and proud of what this bridge plan did, because it took away some of the issues between the zoning map and the land use map that Mary needs to properly resolve some of the issues with the land use map that exists now. And is it exactly how I would want it personally? No, but I understand that it's best for the city. And I think that some of the restrictions that Alderman Berry mentioned are not quite accurate. I know that there was mixed use, I believe, in the Cedar Lane area. And what we tried to do is use the same nomenclature that was used in the comprehensive transportation plan, so that that transportation plan and this bridge plan call roads the same things, so that they are not referring to the same road under two different names, because these plans work together. And that's one thing that we really relied on Mary to do, is to help us understand how this would impact, and that there was still areas that were useful for development with high density, mixed use, et cetera. So we then got the public comments. We incorporated several comments that were relevant towards this bridge plan. We made notes. We went through each public comment. We made notes on, does this need to be addressed most suitably in this bridge plan, or should we address this in the long-range plan? And those comments we still have, and we are meeting on Thursday, and we are intending to start on the long-range plan, which will incorporate as many public comments as the committee can, and believes, and some of the public comments have already been addressed and will be addressed by the maps being reconciled and showing the two, and so that will alleviate, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but the gentleman who has the issue with his home and not being able to replace an aging mobile home, what we are submitting will allow him to do that. We can't go back and look and see why some of this land use map was designated as it was in 2011. But what we try to do is to fix this so that it gives, for this next year and a half, it gives Mary the right tools to correct some of the issues that existed and were tying her hands when citizens and property owners came to her and wanted to do something with their property. And if someone has a house and it's in a commercial area now, then if they want to add on to it, it's not, they can't. And so this alleviates those issues. And this fixes this to where if someone's house, then, and there's some areas where if it is currently zoned or currently shows on the land use map as commercial, then it gives some options to. For example, the man with the mobile home. If he's been through several different designations, and this allows him to choose if he wants to. This will give him the ability to say, do I want it to be residential or do I want it to be commercial? So he can choose. And so I think that we gave a lot of flexibility to the pieces of property that there were some issues with. We relied on what Mary was telling us, and we all worked together really well. And we think that this is a great plan for the next year and a half as the long-range plan comes, and we look forward to more public comments and more public participation in our meetings.
Thank you. I would like, if I may, I'd like to ask Ms. Samaniego one other question for the record.
Yes, Mayor, Mary Samaniego for the record. Yes, sir.
As far as I know, the only professional city planner in the room, which one of these plans allow you to do the work that this city needs to be done to accommodate some things that are not the best for zoning currently, but moving forward, which one of these plans allow you best to do that job?
I believe either plan will work.
King Solomon.
Yeah.
I think that the Planning Commission did make some valid edits, though. I will say that.
Well, I know that the Planning Commission tried to work with all the comments that had come in and incorporate them with the Citizens Committee as well. So I thank you for your candor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
Is anyone familiar with the straw man fallacy up here? Yes?
Say again.
Everybody familiar with the straw man fallacy? Yeah, it's taking arguments, right, and not making distinction between them at kind of a low level. It is true, and even though this was slapping lipstick on a pig from the beginning, it gets these people, which is the most important thing to me, it gets this man able to build his home. It changes the things on East Deckard Street, the gentleman on Old Estill Springs, and those are all good things, right? but there's a couple flaws here. This plan does, and I would expect a member of the CPDC to know, this plan does not allow mixed use unless it's already zoned in the Cedar Lane Annex. That was an amendment that I made at the Planning Commission, was instead of changing it to all urban corridors, one of the things that I said, because there was an issue with that, one of the things that I said to the Planning Commission is, okay, leave it urban, but let's make a small text amendment to say also on Cedar Lane from X to X, right? So that would allow some of these plans and some of these potential businesses, things, mixed use that could help us grow there. It's also kind of to the point of this plan was just a bridge, right? The Planning Commission didn't make these changes. The CPDC made those changes. All the Planning Commission did was say, hey, this is an interim plan, revert it back to what it was, and then we can tackle it later in the bigger plan. So the argument of this is just a bridge plan isn't true. And it's not, it is a bridge plan, right? But the argument of the Planning Commission made changes that are outside of the bridge plan, that's not factual, because we just reverted it to what it was, because those are big changes that we did without any data. And yes, you got to look at what's existing now and what you plan on it to be in the future. If we look at Jackson Street and we know that there's only 18 vacant lots and then everything else is filled, when we're looking 5 years down the road, we've got to know, hey, if we're funneling everything onto here, we're trying to put all these apartments and our townhomes have to be on Jackson Street, which is a road that we've sat up here and had the conversation many times that Jackson Street is not safe, that we have issues with people crossing Jackson Street. So now we're saying, let's dump all of these townhomes and apartments, which are generally families with kids, on Jackson Street. And that's the only place that you can do it in the city of Tullahoma. I mean, some of these things just, were these questions not asked? I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do, but I want to make sure that the questions are asked and answered.
I'll just say one more thing, and you kind of said it in your own comment. You said apartment complexes built in the next 5 years. We're talking about this is a plan to get us through a year and a half, when the long-range plan can address all that, when there's more time for them, for the committee and the citizens to hash all that out and make those decisions. The data wasn't there. There needs to be other study. There needs to be other looks at things for them to make the long-range plan, to make proposals of where to put this stuff. This is to get us through a year and a half. The long-range plan will take place after that, which could make other changes. But for now, this is the only changes that we're willing to make. And with that, I'll call the question.
The Planning Commission didn't make the changes. The CPCD did.
A second.
Call the question.
Question's been called, and the vote is on, the vote is to vote for the plan that we'd approve would be the plan presented by the Citizens Planning and Development Committee, or the one that was finalized by the Planning Commission. That's what your plan is.
We vote on first the amendment, which is to pass the plan that was proposed by the final plan proposed by the CPDC that incorporated the citizens' comments.
The way you phrase that makes it sound like the Planning Commission didn't include those comments, but they did.
Yeah.
The Planning Commission received the final version from the CPDC. The final version from the CPDC incorporated the citizens' comments. So, of course, so did.
Yeah, but your phrasing is intentional to make it seem as though that the Planning Commission just ignored those comments. So can your motion just be to not accept the changes from the Planning Commission?
I made my motion.
Is that your motion to not accept changes?
No, I made my motion already. What was my motion originally?
To adopt the final plan proposed by the CPDC without the changes by the Planning Commission.
That was the motion, that's what was seconded.
Just a minute, a second.
Let's go.
Go around the room. We'll start with Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No.
Aye.
No. It dies.
Motion fails. Like, tie it dies. It dies. We go back to the original, this could go on all night because we go back to the original motion, just except the one that was presented by the Planning Commission. We'll entertain a motion to approve the plan as presented by the Planning Commission.
We already have that motion. Yeah.
We have a motion to approve the Planning Commission. Okay, forgot that one. Okay. Alderman Berry.
Aye.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
Motion fails. Resolution number 1927, a resolution to amend a study session scheduled by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Page 216, that's essentially to allow us to have study sessions as needed. We don't have to we don't have to wait until we have the board meeting and have them afterwards. So we can have those, we can schedule study sessions anytime we need to call them. Motion from Barry, second by Mathis. Any question? The details are on page 216. Any discussion? I will start with the votes over on this side with Alderman Wilson.
Do you have a motion?
Nope.
Got a motion and a second. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
To approve study sessions every time we need to. We don't have to have them, not just on the, after a board meeting at 9.
I'm sorry.
This is to approve study sessions at any time the mayor and the board chooses to call for a study session. We don't have to wait until after a board meeting to have a study session. We can call for a study session anytime we can give proper notice.
Aye.
I would, well,
Oh.
is it too late for me to make a small amendment to this?
Go ahead. We got
I'd like to make an amendment that if the study session is dealing with any fiscal matters of the city, any budgetary or fiscal matters that is going to cost the city or taxpayers money, that those meetings automatically be televised. All the other ones wouldn't necessarily have to be, but could be.
Okay, we have a motion and we have an amendment to the motion. Need a second. Alderman Berry.
I'll second, but I also have a comment. I think that this board has already voted that study sessions.
When we changed
I think that died.
That died with that?
Yeah, it died.
Was it tied together?
Yes.
I assume that's what they told me. as I checked.
When we went back to the original format of having this board study sessions after our board meetings, that the TUA were not televising them at that point. So when we went back to the original, they were not contracted to televise study sessions after board meetings.
Was your motion substantial?
It was to televise the ones, televise study sessions that had fiscal impact or budgetary matters of the city. Other study sessions wouldn't necessarily have to be televised, but could be televised.
Yeah, I'm still good with my second.
Got a second? Any further discussion? Yeah, we're voting on the amendment now to televise anything that has physical implications. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
No.
No?
Aye.
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 4-2. Is that what you got? That passes to have study session televised. We'd have with fiscal responsibility that be televised. Okay.
Now we
That
got
was
past
the
the
amendment. Now back to the original motion as amended.
vote.
Aye.
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 And that passes 6-0. Item 2373 has been deleted. We're moving on down to 2374. Consider approval of a discussion to provide staff direction about how to move forward for the downtown planning project. Alderman, I need a motion. Got a motion from Alderman Mann, seconded by Alderman Berry. Discussion. I'll let you start the discussion on that, Alderman Mann, to move at your.
Yeah, so this is a project that's in the early stages that I've met with Mr. Worsham and Mr. Ralph Graham about, also several other downtown residents, and I know Alderman Glick has met with them as well. And what we're looking at doing is improving the planners around the downtown that have been neglected, coming up with a more uniform plan, which Mr. Graham has agreed to help us with. There is also some money coming from the Rotary Club and several downtown residents, I think Community Pride Foundation, and hopefully more will join in that will assist in this endeavor. So it'll really, truly be a community effort. We're going to be doing a walkthrough in the coming weeks with our Public Works Director, Butch Taylor, and our new Parks Director, J.P. Kraft, to discuss the idea and to get things going. What we need some help from staff on is coming up with a plan for the concrete work that we're wanting to see done and a recommendation on a long-term maintenance plan so that when we get this done and everyone's put in effort and money, that it's kept up and we can be proud of it for years to come. We would also certainly welcome any input and feedback from this board, any residents, as we look to beautify one of the most special parts of our city.
All the motion is to approve the discussion. You
Just the
initiated
discussion, just to
certainly,
get
I think it's a wonderful project for the city, and I think that all you need is support from the staff.
That's right.
Can we provide that staff, City Administrator?
I think we're already in the process of doing that. Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you for the efforts on that. Alderman Berry.
Do we have all the funding that's needed?
Not yet. We're kind of getting. I know, Mr. Worsham, you said there's a $15,000 grant coming from the Rotary Club. We're going to do some fundraising with some of the downtown residents, see what we can fundraise there. We're going to do as much as we can privately. Obviously, we will need some funding from the city for this, but that's one of the things we'll be talking about with the Public Works Director and Parks Director, kind of seeing what all help we're going to need from them and what that's going to cost.
Well, one of the things that in the ARPA resolution that is passed, technically, it still says downtown, I believe, $90,000. I know we had talked about moving some of that to cameras in some of the parks and stuff, but there's still technically money in ARPA funds, which goes to the original use of those funds, which is, I think it's an incredible project. Thank you. I know that you kind of prodded us on that. Thank you, too, for getting involved. As staff looks at this, and you and I have complained about it together before, if we've got an irrigation, let's look at the things like, is that irrigation system going to work? Can we use it? Can we do something to make it work? Let's get trees in there that aren't getting into the power lines and, the right trees. Maybe it's not trees, maybe it's shrubs, whatever we can do. And maybe look at extending it. One thing I think that helps South Jackson is it's not that far of a walk from our main core downtown to South Jackson Street, but it seems like a long walk. But we can shorten mentally that walk by adding shrubbery and by adding those pieces to make that more walkable. So that would be the only thing that I would ask in your discussions is, thank you for considering the maintenance plan. Maybe that $90,000 is spread out over a 5-year period for maintenance or whatever. But it's a great project. Thank you for.
Well, and I think, on the irrigation, I think we have some good ideas, taking what we've got and just changing it up a little, not having to, the water's already coming to the planters. So, we have a couple ideas on how we can improve that. And also, Ralph has been a great help in helping us look at some trees and some appropriate things to be in those planters that won't interfere with power lines or anything like that. So it's a good group. Everyone's been really helpful with this. So.
Thank you to all involved. With that, there's no other new business, so we'll adjourn the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting, and we'll move right into the beer board. Any public comments from the public for the beer board? Seeing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. Need a motion to approve. Motion from Barry, second to Mathis. Any comments? No comments? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's approved. There's no unfinished business. We have one item of new business. A beer application. That's a special events permit for Props and Pistons. Mr. Michael Williamson, CEO, will be the manager in charge of beer sales for the open house for World War II hangar to be held on April the 29th, 2023 at 707 William Northern Boulevard. Need a motion to approve that. Motion from Barry, second by Glick. In discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And that passes 6-0. Congratulations, Mr. Williamson. I know you'll have a great event there. 29th, is that right soon? Saturday night.
Hopefully the weather holds out.
All right. Okay. Congratulations on what you're getting done out there. Okay, with that, we'll adjourn the beer board, and before we start our study session, we'll take a 5-minute break to get set up for we'll be doing some of this by Zoom, so we'll take a 5-minute break.